Elizabeth Audencream.
This one's wife. So desperate, so pathetic, so laughable. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Those of you who are fans of Game of Thrones may recall one scene where Joffrey, brilliantly played by Jack Gleeson, yells, "I am the king." And Charles Dance, equally fantastic in his role, as Tywin Lannister points out, any man who must say that he is king is not. I.e., if you have to keep telling people that you're something, it suggests that you're not that thing. It's similar to the quote that Margaret Thatcher once issued, stating that power is a bit like being a lady. If you have to keep telling people that you are one, you evidently are not. And this is something that this one's wife repeatedly falls foul of. And she's at it again this time, wanting to convince you all that she and Numbnuts Harry are individuals that are worthy of admiration, praise, and accolades. As you know, there is the controversy raging at present in relation to Harry being the recipient of the ESPY Award in relation to Pat Tillman. A petition has been launched suggesting that he ought not to receive it, and in an attempt to suppress what is clearly viewed as an insurrection, the suggestion has been made that in that petition it contains content which is in essence disputed in an effort to prevent mainstream media from wanting to touch it by way of reportage. This one's wife, of course, operates a facade, like all mid-range narcissists do. There are different strands to this facade, and one of them is to suggest to everybody that she, and by extension the Prince of Pink Pancakes, are successful people. What has Harry been successful at? Well, he was successfully delivered in a hospital some 39 years ago, so that he automatically entered a life of privilege. Good for him. But other than that, he hasn't really achieved anything. Yes, he joined the army, but was labelled Bunker Harry. He's done some charitable works and made some difference here and there, but it's not like he's had a successful career at anything. And it's not even that he's been a successful royal. You could look at the late Queen Elizabeth and say, yes, she was born into privilege also, but she was a successful royal because she exhibited service all the way through to her dying days. Similarly with the Princess Royal, she embodies that resilience and notion of service. But with Harry, well, he's shat on his family. He's been a turd in that respect, and therefore he hasn't been a particularly successful royal either. So to suggest that he's successful, well, the evidence suggests to the contrary. But it gets even worse when one takes into account this one's wife, because success is very much a stranger to her shores. Yes, she's successfully become one of the most famous people on the planet and has made quite a lot of money. But with that has come recognition that she tells porcupines, revises history, isn't a very pleasant person, has a very dubious past, and that she is disliked by increasing numbers of people. All of that threatens her need for control, because her narcissism tells her, you are lovely, you are wonderful, you are kind, you are talented, you are successful. And therefore anything that suggests to the contrary cannot be accepted. And in order to silence those dissenting voices, one of the aspects that this one's wife's narcissism causes her to unleash is to try and persuade the world that she is successful, that she is a winner. Notwithstanding the fact that we have seen repeated failure after failure. She can't even perform a car chase properly. She can't do the 40x40 with any effectiveness. She didn't march on Washington. Parental leave went nowhere. She can't turn up at places without making a complete kerfuffle. That she has launched American Riviera Orchard, which should be shot and placed in a shallow grave. Failure after failure after failure. And as I've pointed out in parts passim, she's even failed at failing. What an abject loser she really is. But notwithstanding this, her narcissism keeps on telling her, almost like a second in the boxing, massaging her huge shoulders, smearing some Vaseline on a cut, telling her, get back in the ring, you've got this, you're going to win. Her narcissism keeps reminding her, you are the best, you are brilliant, you are successful. Don't listen to these naysayers. They're just racist and bigoted. Show them how successful you are. And thus, this means that we're treated to yet another PR puff piece, courtesy, of course, of Newsweek, which then tells us Prince Harry and this one's wife's high-profile award wins. Yes! Imagine that. Not only have you bought the majority of these awards, some of them are meaningless, others have become devalued as a consequence of having been granted to this one's wife and the Prince of Pink Pancakes, but the sheer myopia of this one's wife is such that she has to have them trotted out, listed, if you will. Yes, that's what's happened. Listed to tell you all how brilliant she and Harry are. The article commences by stating, here, Newsweek looks at the high-profile awards that Harry and this one's wife have accepted since their split from the monarchy, from human rights recognitions to podcast prizes. Imagine that. You're such a pair of losers that in order to try and persuade people that you are successful, I am the king, that you have to trot out a roll call of all of the awards that you've spawned your way to receiving. Again, it demonstrates that he's a dunderhead and that she's blinded by her narcissism, that the only response to this article is to say, you don't deserve any of them. They were either bought or you receive them as part of a crony deal. Nobody's going to stand there and go, wow, aren't they brilliant and talented to have received all of those awards? You know beforehand, I just thought that they were a pair of entitled lazy shits. I really did. I thought she was a skid mark on the face of civilization and that he was a festering turd that was lingering at the bottom of the toilet bowl. But now Newsweek have kindly listed for me all of the awards that they have won. I look at them in a completely different light. Thank you, Newsweek, for waking me up. Thank you, Newsweek, for demonstrating that these two are the embodiment of service, that they are human rights champions and deliverers of the finest and most entertaining content that Christendom and the rest of the world has ever seen. That simply won't happen. But it demonstrates again the strength of the delusion of this one's wife, whereby she believes if you keep telling them that I'm brilliant, they'll eventually get it. No, the more you protest, the more people say, we see what you are. It's like being caught in quicksand. Keep still, you stand a chance of surviving. Thrash around, you'll sink. And she thrashes around. And, like many narcissists, the more that she tries to convince you of what she believes that she is, the more she provides evidence of demonstrating what she truly is, not what she thinks she is. That she demonstrates her narcissism over and over again. The article tells us about the SB Pat Tillman Award, that this is as a consequence of being given to prominent figures connected with sport who have used their positions to help others. And it does recognise that there have been objections. It then repeats that ESPN backed the decision, saying in a statement, while we understand not everyone will agree with all honorees selected for any award, the Invictus Games Foundation does incredible work, and ESPN believes this is a cause worth celebrating. Thus, it's a further attempt to stamp out the dissension, which isn't going to work. Then reference is made to the Living Legends of Aviation, which was granted to Harry back in January 2024, which apparently is for people who've made significant contributions to aviation and aerospace. So I suppose contemplating buzzing your father's car so the windows are smashed amounts to a significant contribution to aviation and aerospace. My backside. Women of Vision is mentioned. You'll recall this was when this one's wife turned up in her grandmother's bedspread and then embarked upon a near-fatal, catastrophic, near-awful, near-terrible car chase. Yes, Then we have the Nipple of Grope Award that gets its mention from December 2022, the NAACP Image Award, the President's Award, the People's Choice Award for the Pop Podcast in 2022 in relation to archetypes, which anybody with a functioning brain cell recognises was a complete crock of shite. And then the Gracie Award for This One's Wife, which was in recognition for her podcast hosting skills. What were those? Not doing most of the interviewing, and then when being called a diva by Mariah Carey, skulking back into the studio afterwards to try and clarify what she actually meant. So there's Newsweek giving you a rundown of all of their awards, and it just demonstrates how desperate she is for you to believe that she's successful, how pathetic the pair of them actually come across, and actually just how laughable these two individuals have become. Once again, the more she tries to tell you that she's successful, the more that she demonstrates that she is not. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.